Hi, my name is Andrea, and in this video, I would like to share about anxiety from a spiritual point of view. Anxiety was present most of my life, and I was anxious for several reasons. But understanding and analyzing my body, my system, my senses, how I react, my mind, my heart, my soul, helped me understand anxiety, and I found my ways to learn to deal with anxiety. Nowadays, anxiety is a very common, let's call it symptom, because it's an effect of a cause. And a lot of people deal with anxiety for several reasons, but the problem is that most of them have no true understanding of anxiety, even less information about how to address to it. Some of them turn to addiction, some of them turn to pills, or simply just live with it. I'm here to tell you that there's a lot that you can do about your anxiety if you are willing to do the job and if you are willing to look into your life. I would say it's very important that you learn to understand yourself. You need to understand your system, how you react, how you act, what are the motivations, how you are designed as a person, your mindset, your way of thinking, your way of feeling. Then you get a lot of understanding about anxiety. In this video, I would like to share my life experience and my experience with people as a spiritual healer, spiritual coach. Also, I meet a lot of people in my life, in my salon as an esthetician. And many of the times I see them anxious, and sometimes just a few affirmations help them ease this feeling. And many of the times they can release this anxiety. So as I said before, I was a person who was very anxious for several reasons, and as a normal person, it was okay to feel anxious because I was very unaware even of the word anxiety, and it was something normal that was present in my life. As a child, I come from an abusive childhood. This explains a lot for those who understand anxiety deeper. Abused children lose their right to be themselves most of the times. They also lose their own willpower. Me trying to find my own path, trying to find my own way and make my own decisions and take responsibility for them was a very big challenge, because basically at home I was conditioned that I had no right. So whenever I tried to follow my own path, this came with a lot of anxiety. I didn't feel that I have permission to do what I want to do. And since when I was a kid, I was punished whenever I did my own choices. I was waiting for punishment. And this came in the form of problems, challenges, people who would drain me, people who would be negative, jealous, things going wrong. Basically, the root cause of my anxiety was that I had no boundaries. I had no rights, so I had no choices. And whenever I tried to step out, I started to feel anxious because I felt like I'm not allowed to do this. And this made me anxious. And anxiety comes most of the times with fear. And it feels like someone squeezing your stomach, because in my experience, the soul resides by the stomach. And whenever you feel in danger, it starts shaking because your mind, who's supposed to hold space, is not able to hold space in that situation because your mindset is built in a way that falls apart outside of your comfort zone. So my belief system was that I'm not allowed to do the things that are for me. It's forbidden. And my mind lost control outside of my comfort zone. So my soul started to feel in danger. So my whole energy field fell apart and I had no control of my emotions. I had no power, and sometimes you just collapse. So basically, understanding my anxiety was a huge thing, and then it took me a long time to learn to address that. So how can you address that? you have to give yourself rights and permission to do what you want to do without any punishment. Otherwise, as you grow up, you attract dominant people, abusive people like your parents, who do the same thing to you, and you feel safe under their dominance on their territory. So you instinctively create this sense of belonging to abusive people, which is very dangerous. And I had to experience that the hard way. And it took time for me to liberate myself, and it took not one person who would teach me how to liberate myself, walking into the trap over and over again. But it was always a little bit more free and less helpless. Let's take an example. You have a very dominant person, and I know that a lot of the anxious people are usually oppressed people without boundaries, who attract dominant and strong people, who feel safe with dominant and strong people. But if they come from abuse, that's dominant, strong, and abusive person. So you feel safe being submitted to that person, and it's an instinct, right? So instinctively, you feel safe. Instinctively, you get attracted. And this is what creates the empath-narcissist connection. Because we are empaths, we are empathic. This is how we could survive. But then that person who you submit yourself to is abusive, abuses the situation, takes advantage of you, drains you, uses you, abuses you. So what can you do? You start step by step creating your boundaries. You start step by step to create inner strength. You learn to say no. You create this inner power, this inner confidence that it's okay to say no. And you have to fight yourself through those games with those people, because they are very talented to manipulate and very talented to make you doubt yourself, doubt what you say, what you think, what you feel, and make themselves the victim. But in fact, you are the victim. So step by step, you empower yourself. You learn to say no. You start to create your boundaries. But still, you walk into the trap every now and then, but it gets less and less and less. And as you are more and more powerful, and you are also in a healing process, you start to get stronger. So your anxiety gets less and less. In the beginning, you might get anxious for the smallest things, but then step by step, you get less and less anxious, more and more powerful. And the beauty of this lesson is that since they are very manipulative, you really have to double check your mindset. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I allowed to say this? Can I say no? Why should I say no? Why they aren't the victim? Why should I look out for myself? Why is he or she doing the wrong thing? Why is he or she abusing me? So it's very tricky, and you have to be really mindful about what you think and feel. So by the time you liberate yourself step by step, get out of abuse, therefore handle your anxiety because you are strong, you become a way more powerful person. And this is what you can see a lot in life. So you come from an abusive childhood, you were submissive, and your parents were not always right with you. So let's say they took advantage of situations and they abused their power over you. But since they were the more powerful and you were depending on them, you accepted that, okay, I need that. This is how I coexist. This is how I survive. Now, what we do is we take that out into our life. We take that into the relationship. We take that into our friendships. We attract the same at work, in our job. We might find similar colleagues or similar boss or similar company even. And so it feels normal because as a child, you got used to it. You grow up, you are used to it. It's normal. It's just anxiety is there. And then sometimes I hear like, I gave up on my job because it was unbearable. And for a while it kept me safe, but I realized that it cost my health. I'm anxious and I have symptoms and I have to go to the doctors and I have lower back pain and I'm not happy at my work. So I decided to give up on my job no matter what and find something where I'm happy. And that's a decision. That's a decision to say no. Or you get into an abusive relationship and then you get pulled into games, the other drains your energy and then dominates because this is how he or she feels safe. So he or she needs that wrapper with you all the time. And you have to behave like a victim as you learn to behave in your childhood. And after a while, it's too much. It's too much anxiety. And instead of putting the other first, you need to learn to put yourself first. Otherwise, it might cost you. It might cost your life. It might cost your future. It might cost your health, your finances. And a lot of these connections are very destructional. And sometimes they destroy you or they trap you for life. If you don't choose to step into your power and say no, create your boundaries. Sometimes it's very hard to go alone, so you need help. You need someone to help you with these things. Simply because you don't have enough power and because that person who is dominating, abusing you, or that system or that problem, because it might apply to problems as well, that they overgrow you, they abuse you, they drain you. You lose money, you lose energy, you lose attention, things fall apart in your life. So it's the same pattern working over and over again in your life. And you have not enough power, trust, and self-belief to overgrow. You don't have the techniques, you don't know how. So you need someone else to trust in you, to support you, to have your back. And it will cost you much less, that person, than what it costs you to lose all that you lose in the moment. In case you come from an abusive childhood, abusive parents, or abusive siblings, you need to be very mindful. And you need to sit down, take a paper, and look at your life. How is my job? Is there anyone taking advantage of me? Is that job making me anxious? Is that making me give up on myself? Is it draining me? Is it abusing me? How is my boss? How are my colleagues? What is the reason that I don't feel that I deserve better, so I go for something better, that pays better, where the environment is better, the colleagues are better, the whole project is better, or the company is better? And then you can look at your friendships. Is that friendship on equal terms? Is that a mutually uplifting, fulfilling, energizing friendship or not? And if it's not, what's the reason why you stay in that? And then you need to look at your relationship and be brutally honest with yourself. Am I happy in my relationship? Am I empowered in my relationship? Am I loved? Do I love? Do I empower? Do I make the other happy? Is it mutually uplifting? If not, what's the reason? What can I do about it? If it doesn't make me happy, why do I still stay in it? And the more you learn to say no, the more you step out, the more you draw your boundaries, the more you raise the bar, the less and less anxiety you will have. But needless to say, this all comes with pleasing people. But we will talk about that in the other video.